early as like, oh, you open with Invoker because it has a specific tool set that it's good against.
Yep.
And that's where we'll see those things be done.
KPII again taking his top off. I think is he quite late returning or not? Has he just literally just stood up and I think he might have just literally just taken his jacket off, but they are getting ready. I am hearing that we're still trying to make the lobby, so apologies for the delay. But we are about to drop you into the draft for game number 2 in this grand final. As you can see, the boys are getting ready on DC's side as well. And here we go, draft number 2. And look at that,
Same
mirror bands, exactly the same on both sides for both bands.
Is NEWBIE going to change it up? Slaughter, I think, very safe. They can go...
Oh. Okay, they expected it, and they're going to go Kotl Naga.
Here we go. We saw Resolution. One of the games, it was a little bit messy from DC early in the series, but just how good they are with this Naga play. It makes it so hard for a team to kind of want to win these big game fights because they can reset them. And DC, they're so good at that. They're very good at kind of analyzing the situation in the moment, saying, right, we need to get the hell out, or we can get the hell back in.
It was more than a little sloppy, I felt, that match. But if they clean themselves up a bit, it's going to be no problem at all. I feel like NEWBIE can pressure this lane, though. Kotl is very good in tri-lane situations sometimes, but Naga Siren, if left alone, can be exploitable.
And the question is, do they still want to go for this Disruptor and Lifestealer synergy that we saw so nicely pair up with the Slardar in game 1?
As a carry, you never really want to play Lifestealer versus Naga. It's just absolutely terrible.
It's a really good thing about that opening too, because it's a very common pick. They've been pairing it with the Slardar. They opened Slardar instantly, as DC probably expected, and now they have the late game counter. Morphling is a very good alternative though. Tons of physical damage, can absolutely gap close and kill Naga with burst. Can lane against it if you really want to.
Would you say that Keeper of the Light can have its strengths against a Morph?
Yeah, he's pretty good against
Morph. But the mana leak's got to be a little bit annoying, especially before he gets the Lincoln Sphere done.
Yeah, Morph does have a mana perk at level 10 that can definitely offset a lot of that advantage, but kind of depends on what the order of Morphling getting his E-Blade is, or if Kotl's behind having a bad game, it can be rough. If Kotl's having a good game, Morphling can be super countered by it.
Yeah,
kind of
going back to something that I was wondering beforehand, do you think already this is showing us they're going to take the Naga, they're going to keep it in the safe lane, or could they still try and put it farm against Morph in that top lane?
There's no way, well, unless they do an aggro try or something, but...
You don't think they would do it? This is already showing us that they're changing it up from game 1.
I mean, it's certainly possible. It's just a little too early to call. The important heroes that we have to see are the supports from NEWBIE, because that'll really justify how strong their tri-lane is. So that's all we really know right now. 2 heroes of DC's tri-lane or dual lane. Or they could spread them out. Doesn't really matter. And we know NEWBIE's going to have Slaughter, and Morph will be in his tri-lane. But Morphling tri-lanes are quite good, especially if you can get a couple levels. Pick it up at least level 2 or 3. Not bad at all.
So now NEWBIE looking towards the combo heroes of the Naga Siren, Mirana and Disruptor, I would say, are probably the best 2. But Morphling is already pretty good versus like the Mirana arrow. I think one of the few heroes that can actually survive that sleep combo. So maybe not too concerned about that.
Can you activate Morph even if the arrow hits you as the sleep ends?
Yeah, you can activate Morph during stun.
Oh, that's right, because it's only silence, right?
Yeah. I'm still worried about the Lifestealer, despite I don't think it being a good pick, and I think that position 1's likely already taken with the Morphling. But still respecting it. Slardar, Lifestealer have been used to perfection by NEWBIE.
I mean, even though Ensnare is good against Lifestealer, the Rage itself is still very good against Naga, because it's going to force her, even if she's Song of the Sirens, sometimes you'll get hit a couple more times. Yeah, that could definitely be it.
Mainly at the fighting heroes, though. Looks like they don't want to play the type of game that NEWBIE wants to play, and the type of game that NEWBIE has been playing this entire tournament.
For that reason, I'm a little surprised about the Sand King ban, but I guess it would give them really strong counter initiation to combat what Slardar does.
DC's turn to pick.
I'm trying to think of some other offlaners that are similar, or at least to what Slardar does, but...
I mean, potentially, don't you think the Darkseer for Moon could work quite nicely? So you've got something to synergize with these fights around a song?
No, it's not very good against Morphling. I think it's more likely they go... Shoot, what was the hero? I just thought... Earth Spirit, I think, for their second support on DC. Very good against Morphling. Pretty good against Slar too.
What about Disruptor themselves for a bit of catch?
That could also work. It's a little bit weak disable-wise. I think I'd definitely prefer Earth Spirit in that. But Earth Spirit's usually the support grabbed against a Morphling. Maybe the question is, will they grab it here or later? The Earth Spirit's good against Naga too, so either would work.
I don't actually mind the Darkseer so much. I think Morphling kind of struggles versus it because he's just really low range, and if they want to aggro with a keeper Naga, with like a third or second support like Rubik, let's say, it's pretty common, then it's good in a one-on-one matchup versus the Slardar.
That's true.
I think they need more team fight though. Like Naga Siren, you always run this risk of just losing 25-30 minutes because you just don't have anything. So Rubik's like the most common tri-laner with Naga Siren. You like, I don't know, you just lift him into the Keeper Blast. It's pretty simple, straightforward. A lot of damage too. But he's one of the better heroes in the aggro situation.
It's pretty good against Morphling too. You can still morph and get rid of all your worthless agi. And then you also have a magic resistance aura against his nukes later.
He's also really good with the stun because he doesn't have that much agility. I think stealing any of his spells are really, really good. So now NEWBIE kind of need to think about whether or not they want to push early. Probably not with a Morphling, but some teams like to end the game as soon as possible versus Naga Siren. Like with, let's say a DK who just sits there and none of these heroes, especially if he has a hood or something, can't do any damage to him early in the game.
I mean, that is something I like about NEWBIE's draft is that they have so many options. Like they kind of understand what the tempo of the game is. They know exactly how strong DC's tri-lane is going to be. They can decide whether they want to fight it or not. And they still haven't even picked cores yet as well. Maybe they go safe, grab like a reasonable tri-lane support that also fits some of their other tasks, like Disruptor maybe.
I think they can also play aggressively with the Morphling if they want to go Wisp. Kaka's, I think, one of the best Wisp players in the East. And I don't actually think they can handle that sort of aggression early.
DC's turn to pick.
Witch Doctor, good choice. A very good tri-lane hero. Can stun illusions for a very long time too.
Yeah, very strong with Morphling as well, isn't it, in terms of healing him back up when he has the max HP low when he morphs into Agi. A lot of value from that Voodoo Restoration.
It's really good at Slardar too. Slardar gets 6, Witch Doctor gets 6, they kill somebody pretty easily together.
5 seconds remaining.
The Batman was strange though. Morphling is one of the better carries versus the Bat Rider. You're like completely okay with that matchup. He's like not as good as Weaver or Slark, but he's still like very, very good.
I think they're worried about the Slardar Bat 1v1 because Slardar surely loses that lane. Darkseer is, you know, a little scary, but Bat has tons of control.
Yeah.
So DC is going to be forced into picking a core now. Slightly on the back foot in the draft in that way.
Do you think there's a chance that we could see NEWBIE as well get OD again for SCCC?
I feel like it's a little too slow with Morphling. Do you agree, Ben?
I agree. I think both of those just
Legion
take up a lot of the map.
They may pick it now though.
Yeah.
Pretty
I'll
good versus
see.
Legion.
For DC this time. Again.
It's definitely a hero that Moon is known to love playing. He feels there's a lot of value in this hero.
So 2 out of the 4. Same picks from the previous time. The difference, of course, opening with the Kotl and the Naga.
I actually really like the Darkseer pick here. Gives them aggressive dual lane options if they want. Slardar plus Darkseer, very strong. Especially against the squishies like Rubik and Cupid Light. If you get on top of them, they're in a lot of trouble. It also makes Morphling a lot better early too. Just Iron Shell waveform kind of stuff is hugely damaging.
I think they can also sack the Darkseer in the lane. Like I think he's okay being paired against Keeper, Naga, Rubik, because I think Digital Chaos picked a very strong one-on-one hero. The Legion Commander, I think, wins a fair amount of 1v1 matchups. So they're kind of concerned probably about the Morphling's farm and want to make sure that he might have a safe place. And the Darkseer, I think, creates a lot of space, pushes out the lanes, so Morphling can farm the jungle and recover in case it's going to be a rough early game for NEWBIE.
DC do get the last pick though, so pretty important here.
Oh, so they ban the Invoker, take the Ember.
That was very dirty the way they did that.
It was.
Just slowly crept into these heroes that everybody knew the counter a couple matches ago, where we saw how good Invoker was versus Ember and Darkseer.
Yeah, they're taking away Wee's Invoker. He would dearly love that right now.
Very tricky drafting here.
I mean, what is left for Wii? What kind of screams out at you here?
5 seconds remaining.
As the Wii are final touch for this game.
I don't think there's that many heroes that are like great versus Ember Darkseer. Invoker, I think, one of the better ones. We saw Oracle like way back, but it's going to be a Weeha hero. Quap, perhaps.
There's so many. There's not that many disables, I guess.
Yeah.
Ursa Warrior.
I was thinking
Ursa
Bear. So. The disables are a little weak here. You can get rid of the weak ones at least.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We are going to leave the NVIDIA experts desk and head back to the commentary booth with Capitalist and Toby 1.
It is time for Game 2, NEWBIE versus Digital Chaos. Currently, NEWBIE ahead by 1, but will it be enough with this draft to make it a 2-0 and be 1 game away from being crowned the champions of ESL 1 and get Genting? Is it possible, Cap?
I'm not sure. NEWBIE, I feel pretty good about their draft in parts because I felt there were more twists and turns to it. Digital Chaos, I mean, we were talking about it. It was just like, it felt pretty obvious what was going to be picked up in the second phase. Like, the Rubik was nice, and then, like, the Legion Commander felt like the only real offlaner that was left. You needed to be able to have something that could help lock down this Morphling potentially. Ursa's probably one of the better fighting heroes in the Ember Spirit. I think there are very few heroes that were left that could really contest this hero. Meanwhile, NEWBIE kind of surprised that they went for this Invoker ban into the Ember Spirit. I think the Darkseer, you know, that was also a small twist where it's like Slardar isn't actually going to be our offlane this time around. It's actually going to be a 4 position. And I think that in general, NEWBIE may have actually maybe caught DC by a little bit more surprise with this draft in game number 2. While normally when we were talking about before this series, we expected DC to be able to provide the twists and turns.
Yeah, they were meant to be the dynamic ones. We saw it all through TI. It was all the talk about Wings and DC, the guys who had the limitless hero pool that could be just creative and ballsy to pick whatever is good. But as the panel was also saying at the end, the heroes which we knew were good in this tournament just slipped through into the end with not a straight up counter because well, NEWBIE was able to ban out that Invoker pickup, but there's still a lot to work with from NEWBIE. They've got some great combinations. DC has some great reset through the Naga. They've got the control we were looking for from Moonmi and his Legion Commander once again. A nice little counter to the Slaughter, so both teams have a lot to work with.
This is going to be, I think, one of those, oh, NEWBIE, they're contesting.
It's aggressive movement in. Up against a Rubik, this doesn't really have a high odds of working out unless DC just bail out. And that's exactly what they've done. They're sending Moon up to the Dire Rune to grab it, and Weeha will take the one next to the Radiant Secret Shop.
This will be completely fine. They'll still trade 2 for 2.
Yeah, so easy trade-off. Of course, we can welcome back everyone who is tuning in right now on Malaysian TV, broadcasting live on NTVV, NTV7. And of course, on the homegrown streaming service of TonTon. So greetings to everyone. We are now back here in game number 2 of this best of 5 grand final.
Yeah, for those of you who missed it, game 1, NEWBIE were able to close it out. I think that NEWBIE just built up this strength. They had a strong enough early game. They were ahead by 20 minutes, and they just slowly but surely built up more of an advantage to be able to close it out. In this second game, DC have chosen to go for this split push strategy, and that was something that DC, I think, showed still, like, against all the odds, I think they showed a decent amount of strength in that game 1 of being able to read movement and apply pressure via split push. It was their last option to be able to do that, and they did manage to buy themselves some windows of time. This time around, they have a much better lineup for it in the Naga Siren and Keeper of the Light opening.
They have a little crack here at Slaughter, as Kaka takes a lot of damage with the Riptide, maybe get a little bit of space, let's go, the range attacks! Is enough to do it, and DC will spill first blood on the safe lane.
Look at top lane. Moonmeander's already pressuring U9 just to make sure that this full agility Morphling, he's actually getting punished quite heavily. This is so smart by an offlaner because you need to be able to do this to make sure that the Morphling can't sit full agility and get those easy last hits and sometimes denies against you, and even potentially get aggressive onto you, the hero, if the support comes around and sets you up as the Morphling. So Moonmeander already doing quite well as its offlane. We're already saying DC safe lane work out pretty damn well. And then on top of that, we should have a natural win. In fact, Weehaw's gonna be able to get the steal.
Wonderful under the T1 tower. Worth the sacrifice of his life.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a real bad matchup for the Ember Spirit. I think that this mid lane matchup is something that we're going to have to watch. Both of these heroes are kind of the tempo controllers for their teams. Weeha has a very clear advantage of being an Ember Spirit against being an Ursa against an Ember Spirit in the lane, and he could potentially put a lot of power against the Morphling as well. We're talking about the lockdown of the duel. If you actually couple that with the Blink Dagger of the Ursa, he can rip right through that Morphling despite the attempts at morphing to strength.
Karka's trying to come over and do something against his Legion, but Moon already triggered off the Shrine, and that little bit of damage that came in from the crush is practically nothing. It really is little. Another bit of information, Saxa was able to go on a little bit of a run, and he jumped over towards the Dire Secret Shop, noticed the Darkseer completely abandoned the lane, stole the bounty route. So a lot of information coming in for DC safe lane.
Attempt to go on Weehaw here by NEWBIE as they move Kaka, but Zapsa kind of mirroring that movement of NEWBIE support. It seems like they really hoped that aggro dual lane would go a lot better for them, but they immediately bounced back, and now they have to come up with other ideas for Kaka's movement.
And if maybe we can get that control, but Weehaw's just so big with the PMS, they can't really get a lot of damage in, and SD doesn't have a lot of damage to give, like 2 up in Searing Chains, 1 up in Flame Guard. This Ember is not ready to spam out yet.
In some ways, I do agree with NEWBIE that the Invoker would have been particularly powerful against some of the other heroes. It's strong versus Ember Spirit, and then it's also quite good versus the Morphling as well as the Darkseer. That Quaswex Invoker and the way he operates fits against those heroes quite well. But it does make you wonder if this if this Ursa is potentially the pick they should have banned instead, just because of the way he's dominating his lane and how DC may be able to snowball this.
This Observer Ward from DC that was planned down so early on is giving him all the vision in the world of the 2 supports on top, allowing Misery to have the greatest positioning ever, and Moon to know just how far he can force it out too. And NEWBIE gonna feel pretty safe too, because their Observer Ward is right on top of the same location.
Yeah, I love this combination too. Like this Keeper of the Light is going to allow Moon Meander to be able to spam out a bunch more overwhelming odds. Again, keeping the Morphling low, punishing him for that high agility, low HP build. And then he'll also be able to do the occasional Luminate Blast, which is the same kind of pressure.
Man, the amount of rune stealing is unbelievable. Courier's also making a bit of a trip down mid, can't get just all the bounty rune, but it's that Courier that's going to bring in the raindrops to Wii.
I think they really want to get a gank. Similar to a Storm Spirit, you want to try and kill this Ursa before he gets his level 6, because the Enrage makes it really difficult. You have to combo your stuns pretty well, and NEWBIE do not have that many controlling hard stuns, right?
You almost need Wii to walk above that line. If he can go above that, then he comes in range with the Paralyzing Cask, and during this nighttime vision, that's like, he just needs to go a little bit above that, but Wee's playing this position perfect. He's hunting actually close towards the ward, but now SC, you get the Searing Chains off, the pick-up is there from the Rubik, create a little bit of space, but will it be enough? Weehaw with another clap, he's almost killing off Kaka, and he'll actually get the kill. The last attack is still ripping up the Paladin, he's trying to do it, and no, it isn't enough. SC is there with the Searing Chains.
I love the fact I thought he was actually going to be able to enrage and tank up the damage from that Maledict proc and potentially be able to survive, but that Searing Chains was just barely in range. I love that. DC, they actually knew that rotation was coming pretty clearly. With the pressure that's up there at that top lane, they have really good read about the support's movement.
Yeah, and they were able to actually kill off the Morphling on the top lane while that gank was happening, so it was actually a twofer.
Yeah, all things considered.
Moon should be really careful. Kaka's coming in through the side. He doesn't have Mist yet, though. And without that, like, you're going to crush now on the Moon. But it's just a little bit of harassment. Moon's fine with this. He finally triggers that down 5.5 minutes in.
Jeez. I've never seen a Morphling put out quite this much. Normally, Morphling's kind of a tough hero for offlaners to be able to deal with, just because the high amount of physical damage is able to output. But this spam is so good.
SC doesn't have spirits yet. Wee's really trying to capitalize on that time. It's a half level before SC will reach that. So maybe with the Paralyzing Cask up on top, again another Maledict. Kaka can't really get himself in range. They can't make the most of the Maledict.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate scenario. He was just a little bit closer.
Talent to get SC, has to juke it around. He actually had a little bit of trouble with the creep. So low on life. But Low is still alive, dropping down to 6 HP.
He actually successfully pushed SC out of the lane before he can get level 6. So this is stalling up this Ember Spirit, and again, the Ember Spirit is going to be one of those one of the tempo heroes for, especially with this new build, right? It's a very aggressive magic damage build from the Ember Spirit. Whoa.
He came into the lane with a Paralyzing Cask just to try and farm up and stall the lane up a little bit, but with an Invis rune sitting inside the bottom of the Ursa, it was a very dangerous play.
All the meanwhile, Nagaskyron's getting total free farm. He's 15-8 right now when it comes to CS. He's not pressured whatsoever by KP, thanks in part to the way they secured their lane first, right? The keeper of the lane sat in the safe lane first to be able to make sure they didn't let this Slardar Darkseer be able to dominate the Naga Siren really early on with the magic damage of the Ion Shell, and then he rotated to top lane once the lane was won.
And that's when he just starts helping out Moon to have all that regeneration and all the just straight up harassment too, with this Illuminate spam is pushing the creep wave under the tower and allowing for more of a potential dual attack, and that's what Moon's doing. He's chipping down Moon 9. So Misery gets attacked, but press the attack instantly breaks off the stun. Now in comes extra help. It's in the form of Rubik and Moon. He wants the duel on the ball. He wants the big one. Strength 4 will make this difficult, but with the Illuminate spam, Moon 9, he still survives up into the trees. It's still not enough. 30 HP.
He's out of mana.
He doesn't have mana. He's got 3 one-shots up in just a second. He's trying to duke it around, but Moon will find him. Slice and dice to the tree line. And DC, they committed pretty heavily for this. Even Weeha, he's trying to pick up the pieces on the back line, and there is one big piece. He's going to try and crack the coconut of the Witch Doctor.
Yeah, Witch Doctor kind of sitting behind his tier 1 tower. Looks like he won't be caught by this. Weeha's rotation is going to be in vain, but it doesn't really matter. DC, like, the most important thing is they're drawing so much attention away from this Naga Siren. It's the cherry on top that they're actually able to win these engagements in the top lane in the first place.
Man, they got a lot of cherries. Like, DC, they own this top lane.
And soon these cherries are going to start representing damage, right? If they start getting successful duels, and then we're going to see a Legion Commander that actually snowballs, as opposed to last game, where the duel actually played against Digital Chaos, feeding away extra damage to both cores of NEWBIE.
And NEWBIE need to find some kind of way to control this, and their answer appears to be to defend the top lane. With his smoke maneuver up, SC's going to rip it through behind Darkseer. He's actually gone for the early wall, but there's no point up in fact. They have to use the Iron Shell plus the wall damage to kill up the Rubik with a paralyzing cask. Face was able to keep that control on the Rubik, but Moon makes a break for the tree line. He cuts through with the Quelling Blade as far up as possible. SC cleans the tree line up, but Moon successfully TPs out. They just didn't have the radar to find him.
Yeah, nice too. Being able to cut down one of those trees and finding a hiding spot that the enemy team is probably not used to being able to deal with. Really nicely played by Moon Meander. I like what NEWBIE did there, just because the Ember Spirit has been quite shut down in the mid lane doesn't mean that they can let him farm too much. They need to try and use this lawnmower strategy of having both the Flame Guard and the Ion Shell.
I know you've got high movement speed, but Weeha is a beast with those phase boots. And you still don't have the Corrosive Haze on the Slanna, so he's not really, like, giving any kind of intimidation factor over to the Ursa.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you challenge this Ursa either, right? Because one of their big disables is going to be that Searing Chains, but Weeha's going to just eat and rage it off for the most part. But they also can't just leave him alone in lane because he'll have this really fast Blink Dagger, and we already talked about the danger of that. He instead goes for the Morbid Mass for now. This also opens up a potential Roshan attempt if DC get enough control of that area.
This spam from Misery on the top lane. NEWBIE's going to come over and see if they can do something about it with the Observer. They see Moon, the jump forward, SC able to root up Misery, but once again, just broken free. The paralyzing cast won't bounce, but SC still in range just for long enough time for Faith to get the last hit in.
Yeah, I like that. Just NEWBIE kind of sticking around and going again with this combination. They just need to try and punish the DC that's been planning their flag up at this top lane. The next rotation, you would usually look to try and shut out the Naga Siren before he actually gets that relic, but I do still feel like NEWBIE is one or maybe even 2 or 3 steps behind DC, and they won't actually be able to gank this hero in time. We'll see. It's sitting at 2,500 right now. It's just tough to be able to get the combination of stuns required to kill this somewhat tanky hero, who's pretty good against the physical damage of the Slardar. Like, that's a big downside, is the fact that Slardar's physical damage is not going to cut the Naga Siren through like it does most other cores. And if they don't successfully chain stun it, then the Song of Siren goes down.
So you just go for the successful rotations you know you can get.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know you can go to the top lane.
Yeah,
and you find kills for SC. Like, he's 2-1-2 currently on the Ember Spirit. That's a nice little place for him. And NEWBIE understands too, their split push going into the later portion of the game. While it's going to be difficult against a Naga, they can build up to the point where they can deal with Digital Chaos if they can just hold on to as much map control as possible.
Yeah, but I think Digital Chaos, their next step is going to be looking towards these tier 1 towers once they actually have the blink.
He just revealed himself again. Look at SC with that haste rune, moves so quickly. And again, Keeper of the Line's going to fall. He's just shy of his level 6, but he's getting greedy. He's trying to get this farm to get into the Aghanim Scepter, and that's going to make the global maneuverability of DC even stronger.
DC immediately trying to punish this movement and try and go for some damage onto the tier 1 tower, but they don't have enough to actually threaten to take this tower anytime soon. That's kind of surprising to me, given the fact fact that SD has spent so much time away from this middle lane and attempting to gank, actually successfully ganking that top. They bring some extra heroes to it, and it looks like DC are tired of being picked off. They're going to sit as a 4-man crew, I think, for quite some time, and not let NEWBIE be able to snowball off these Ember Spirit kills.
Now they're going to start to remove the tier 1 towers and remove the area where NEWBIE can farm. They can push with the Iron Shell, but getting close enough to get all this experience, it can become more and more risky.
They have some decent control over this area, and they may even feel like NEWBIE can't fight them 4 versus 5, but I'm not sure if they're actually correct.
Neighborhood. You've got the Rubik in the neighborhood. Karka's going to enter, gets the stun over on Earth. The duel's going to begin already. Paralyzing Cast made the Civic special with the Malady, and now with the Jet Force, the damage is huge on the DC. Did they go too early? Karka's down on 10 HP. We have SD comes down. The Spirits will do the work. Song of the Siren. Hold the fun. Stop the song. Right about now. The Illumina hitting so hard, combining with the Fable. It's a double kill for the Rubik, but it's not over yet. Misery creates a mismatch for Blinding Light, but it's a Rubik with a triple kill. Can you give him more? KP starts the TP, the Illumina just missing. It would have been a team wipe. DC will still recover. It looked hairy for a minute.
DC starting off that Roshan with only 4 heroes, but they were calling. They're saying, Resolution, you need to get your butt up here. You need to make sure that if they actually go on us, we have that Song of Siren ready to go, because NEWBIE did execute that fight pretty damn well. They had the paralyzing cast set up by the Witch Doctor and this beautiful Death Ward. It was only until Resolution stops all of that with the Song of the Siren, and they are able to reset that fight that they just dominate over NEWBIE.
NEWBIE need to have some kind of, like, how do you even deal with this? Like, you've got heroes which are not going to naturally build into a BKB. So do you just get tanky enough that you can just, well, either pop the Naga straight away or survive it?
I actually don't know what NEWBIE's plan is at this point. Losing the laning phase a bit is acceptable, but this is not a bit, right? They almost have a 10,000 gold lead already by DC. This is almost unheard of by 14-15 minutes. And a match that, especially with NEWBIE taking game 1, was kind of edging towards the way of the Chinese. But DC are definitely bouncing back pretty damn well in this game 2.
300 gold. I just want to keep my eyes on Resolution at the moment. He is just about to finish up the Radiance. We're only 14 minutes into this game. With the same net worth as an Ursa, who has not only a license to kill, he's got a license to survive. Maybe they can get a little bit, but no, Misery. A quick Blinding Light pushing SC away.
SC, he's actually having a lot of mana problems because he doesn't actually have any components of the Veil, and then he's also dealing with his Keeper, the light mana burn at times.
He still wants to kill, but Moon, he's here to help out with his double and telling you exactly what they're getting into. The damage is more than enough. +10 winner goes to Legion Commander. And the space is now being created. So there's a 300 gold. The Radiance is up just shy of the 15-minute mark. And what the hey? You spin me right, baby, right round.
Yeah, that's what happens. Saksa has the Fire Remnant. They get some extra initiation. Weeha's got the Blink Dagger. Moon Meander's going to be picking up the Blink Dagger pretty quick at this rate, because with the armlet and the natural strength of the DC crew right now, they're going to be able to bully down some of these outer towers.
And there's very little NEWBIE will do about it. And NEWBIE tier 1 tower drop, and this push will continue. DC are not backing out. They're coming for the tier 2.
Yeah, NEWBIE, I think, have to defend because they can't really split push against this this Radiance Naga Siren. They can't try and trade, so they have to actually fight into DC.
Well, they do have the fresh mech, which is over on KP, so this is an upside. SC missing a critical Sleight of Fist to Searing Chain. That's not going to help, especially when it's only a 1 point up in Sleight of Fist. That's a very long cooldown of 30 seconds.
They just do not have hard initiation on NEWBIE, so SC missing that Searing Chains, like, it's going to be a long time until Kaka gets his Blink Dagger. He's sitting at 1,000 gold right now, but I think his gold per minute is not real high.
They need some fight to work. Weeha wants to go in. Remember, he's still got the Aegis. He's still got that extra little ticket to live again. So if he can go in, kill one person, the rest of DC can move over. They've got Song of the Siren to still reset. And they're actually pressuring the mid lane. Illusions are being set up towards the top lane as well. It's going to force the equilibrium to shift back in favor of DC on the north.
I like the way that DC are setting this up. The smoke is going to be able to catch Kaka.
Oh, this is big. The duel, easy follow-up, easy money. And KP even tries to help out with the paralyzing cast. It might have enough. The stun is holding
Oh,
him there.
the burn!
He's stunning at the moment. He'll TP out. Misery. A little bit second. No, the Song of the Siren. Resolution walks a little bit too far away. It opened up NEWBIE to attack, but he needed to save his...
What?
No! Spirit jump up. He'll get the Searing Chains as well as that Splatter Fist. That was the position to do it with the Wavefall Force. That's a big kill for Unite. 400 gold, but Weeha back in again. But SC, he's got the space to escape.
Resolution has the haste run. He's just running straight into all these heroes.
SC ensnaring the Witch Doctor. He's got his death form, but he won't survive long enough. SC, get the hell out of dodge. Back behind the tier 2 tower. Kaka, he's got that Son of Balm. It's both Rubik as well as Stark, but you've still got maybe more spirits as Rubik jump forward as he holds the Emperor in position, throws him down. Let's see how he gets the kill. He can't stand for it. Naga! It bounces back and forward. Finally, Sasuke will get further away, but he's closer towards the dire base. Kaka wants these kills. This is his goal. If he can get it, it's just walking on green legs. If he can just get the stun up, he's waiting. He's burning him down. Now the stun will hit. Weeha jumps forward. The quick revenge is out, but will it be enough? Weeha surrounded on 3 sides in that newbie sandwich. Support is there from the Legion Commander. No press the attack. Duel is available. KP knows it. He has to move away, even though Moon doesn't have the Blink Dagger available.
They're going to try and kite him as best they can. They really want to keep on this Ursa. They're not letting him get his Blink Dagger off. The Maledict is stopping that one, but I'm not sure if they can still catch this guy. They've got to have the disabled.
KP doesn't have his Surge available, but in comes SC in from the side of the Blinding Light, pushing him away. Misery, the ultimate space creator.
Misery comes in at quite the clutch time. They've been able to successfully get a Searing Chains. KP was rapidly following up. He could have been able to catch them with a potential Surge Vacuum, but I think that's actually a really great fight for NEWBIE.
Yep.
Like, it goes to show the strength of DC that they're able to do some of those things and march all over these tier 2 towers and still have these trade-offs, but look at Kaka's goal. They desperately need this form of hard initiation, and Flutter's about to get that.
Yeah, and that is going to be the critical timing for NEWBIE. Of course, everyone across NEWBIE was about a 1,000 gold advantage. They managed to swing after that fight, and they start to flatline the advantage that was there for DC overall.
Yeah, it seemed like DC was just going to barrel out of control, but a brief halt in that momentum.
Kaka, get away, get away, get away.
Yeah, do not let that Blink Dagger.
He's got it, he needed it. That's what the bounty room was for. He needed to get that money.
They also have the Veil that's going to be coming in for SC, so that's a relatively big upgrade in their damage.
Look at the other items. Look at the Rubik. The amount of money on him. You get a Blink Dagger on Starter, which you've been working so hard towards. Now the Rubik is just going to get one for actually nothing.
Yeah.
I'd say nothing. He's 626 on a Rubik.
Moonmeander is not too far away from his Blink Dagger either, so it's not like NEWBIE with this Blink Dagger pickup on the Slaughter can all of a sudden feel like, oh, we have the initiation advantage. That's just not the
hunt
case.
is coming.
They need to use smokes. They need to use to catch these heroes.
It's a bad habit with a blink. Oh, what a great big cross with the mirror jumping. The damage is here. The back wall. NEWBIE and the combination. A triple kill for SC. A digital chaos. They saw it coming after they were dead.
Fatal error by DC. They had this game in the bag, but NEWBIE with the right rotation, they pick up the Blink Dagger on the Slardar, and we said they had to catch DC by surprise. They needed a really good smoke initiation here, and they found that in spades. A 3-man crush by the Slardar. Kaka showing what a hero this is for them. Slardar for KP, and even Kaka has been a monster for NEWBIE.
Man, such a huge dream. A little bit of extra thing for a Rubik now stealing off the morph, so he's going to strengthen himself up as much as possible. But DC can stand the bleed, so it's great for NEWBIE. They can now get themselves back in front while the experience is in their favor. They're still a long way behind in the gold, but it's the fact that they've got great D push, they've got great kill potential, still great team fight to work out for DC. It's one bump in the road. But the road is long.
What I loved about this is the fact that NEWBIE pushed really aggressively into DC's side of the map. They wanted to see if they can continue to kind of, just make DC stumble backwards, right? They just gave them a huge shove. They're stumbling backwards, and they're trying to see if they can keep them on the back foot. It didn't quite happen, though. DC played very conservative. They stuck around their tier 1 towers. They grouped up, and NEWBIE weren't able to find that additional opening. DC still remained the much stronger team at this point, but NEWBIE finally have like this glimmer of hope that they didn't have before.
Yeah, and you see them trying to actually make even more out of it. You get a Witch Doctor. He's the man that bought back 2 fights ago. He now buys an entire hand of Midas flying on the Courier, and you look at Kaka's quick buy, he's also staring down the hand of Midas. So both of these heroes are really prepping themselves. They want this game to go late. We want to crack the hour mark with this NEWBIE lineup. Which is a
really
weird thing
big
to say against a Naga.
Yeah, one of the really big pickups for NEWBIE was also the Lincoln Spear off of that team fight. It doesn't sound like an item that's going to really impact some of these team fights, but it does, very importantly, stop the initiation of the Legion Commander, who we were conceivably talking about him picking up the Blink Dagger before the Lincolns, and all of a sudden they keep the Morphling down. They maybe kill him once or twice with this combination of the Legion Commander and the Ursa and all the physical damage they have, but that will not be the case here. If DC want to be able to gank U9 on this Morphling, they're going to have to bring a little bit of extra to the table.
And that means a lot of extra. Like, that's bringing the entire team of DC, but as you saw with that little bit of a choke point, the big stuns, they have to give respect. Not to mention the fact that Darkseer, well, okay, you already completed up the mech. He's working, looks like, directly into the pipe. I thought maybe KP would put a little bit more priority on having that Blink Dagger, but KP's positioning, like, we've already been praising his SKs, his clockworks throughout the entire tournament, but he's always in the right position, even without having that high maneuverability item, just using the surge.
Yeah, it really helps when Kaka's able to set you up so well with his Blink Dagger crushes, right? You just get a momentary respite, and you come in with the vacuum set up for that paralyzing cast. The combination has been beautiful for NEWBIE, giving them a decent shot at recovery. It's still concerning though because they have still all these big items coming in for DC. The Aghanims is being finished up by Misery. We talked about how the Blink Dagger on Rubik is another big pickup, especially against that Lincolns, right? He has two abilities that are instant cast. Fateful can power off the Lincolns, and he can potentially get the telekinesis on the Morphling before he wave forms or jumps to his replicate.
DC prioritizing now the control around the Dire Seeker shop. That's where their smoke maneuver is going. If they can push into the tier 2 towns as well, it opens up the shrines. And this is another point where you said, like before, NEWBIE had to try and defend. The question is, do they still feel that same level of pressure? They're waiting for a smoke gank from DC to come into their jungle. But now that Weeha will reveal himself on bottom lane, they'll probably cotton onto the fact that NEWBIE, well, it's their tier 2 tower of bottom lane, which is under siege.
Yeah, Weeha doesn't have that Aegis anymore. He wouldn't be solo pushing into that tier 2 without some backup. So NEWBIE avoiding that high ground area, the old secret shop. They're not going to go in through there.
Witch Doctor TP'd out. He was inside the Roshan pit, and 2 seconds after his TP completed, Roshan spawned up. It's almost near maximum spawn time anyway, so whoever comes out on top of this fight is probably going to be looking towards the pit.
The offlane tier 2 is one of the tougher towers to defend. It puts you in against high ground scenarios in both sides, and this is also very much a funnel leading into the tier 2, so better that NEWBIE just gave that one up, I think. Focus on maybe defending their middle tier 2 tower. That is the last remaining tier 2 and is protecting their shrines. That is going to be, I think, one of their last holdouts before the full Naga Siren push comes to play.
I think Weeha would also like to finish up his Aghanim set before this Roshan fight begins. He's now 1 gold away, so there it is. The Aghanim set to be purchased and it's already coming on courier.
Yeah, we said they lacked a whole lot of control on the NEWBIE side. They have the Searing Chains, which, you know, for the most part, Ursa is able to ignore thanks to his ultimate. And then they have these 2 other hard stuns. Well, now those hard stuns aren't even a problem for Weeha. I don't know actually how they're going to be able to control the Ursa in these team fights. I think he's just going to be able to latch on to multiple heroes in every single engagement.
That one Naga illusion. It's a smoke maneuver from NEWBIE. Now, they might have been looking to go into Roshan. They never actually entered the pit. There's one illusion watching it. But instead, this DC lineup is now split up. And that's opening again! Kaka! The double crush! Keeper alive will push it back with the blinding light. Moon will break it free. And the Song of the Siren is used, but Weeha, who does he want? He's looking towards the Witch Doctor. Paralyzing Kaka got out into the Naga illusion. He can't get away. Kaka with the extra stun. Ursa, the Arrange is taping him. Not to mention Rubik, he gets the pickup. He only saw vacuum. No major big ability. And that's where NEWBIE will turn their attention to his SC. Get the rest of DC occupied. They move over to the Rubik. Another crush, keeping the illusions away. The ensnare, a blink up from SC. He'll dodge that one, but Weeha on the front lines, looking for that kill onto the Slider. One more attack will do it. He's burning. 73. The Mana Link will get the Sun and Moon. One swing for the ding. And now they can take Roshan. That's the big one.
NEWBIE, they found an initiation. Yes, it looked cool. A 2-man crush, but I think Kaka forgot to look behind him. and judge the distance of the rest of his allies. They were so far behind that the Crush actually wore out before the Ember Spirit, who is probably one of the more mobile heroes that they have on their team, actually got there. Forget about the rest of NEWBIE. They weren't even close to being able to follow up in that engagement. Kaka, he saw an opportunity. That is the toughest part about the off-lane position. It's one of those things is you are oftentimes the initiator. In this case, the 4 position, right? He's the big initiator. He has to just kind of read when the time is to go. He saw an opportunity, but he misjudged his ally's position.
And that's really costly too, because now NEWBIE fall behind. Digital Chaos and the Graph start to swing a little bit further up in favor of that Radiant side, not to mention the map control that they've lost. The Shrine is now being lost next to that Dire Secret shop, and they only have one left inside their own jungle.
NEWBIE are just going to be trapped inside their base very soon, and they're going to have to do, like, and they're running out of smokes too. So normally when you're trapped inside your base like this, the best way to be able to push out, you try and go for a smoke, force a fight, and if you win that fight, you can actually gain some semblance of map control back before the Naga Siren inevitably pushes you back in. But I'm not even sure if they're going to be able to do that too many times with the few smokes that they have. DC, they take this remaining tier 2, then they spread these Naga Siren illusions all over the place, and the only hero who can feel somewhat comfortable pushing out is U9 just because of his Lincoln Sphere.
Because he's got the safety to get away, but that's always the big thing at the Morphling, right? You've got to create that space. That's the reason why NEWBIE was looking towards the Hand of Ice. They realized this game is, well, I'd say not going their way at the moment.
Yeah,
but there's still a lot of ways to come back. They still had that big combination of KP as well as the Slaughter can combine together with the Ember Spirit.
For NEWBIE to have a chance, they certainly have to drag out this game big time, and the Hand of Midas kind of plays into that. SC is also trying to go for a Lincoln Sphere, it looks like, on his quick buy, and I agree with that. I think it's needed because the Blink Dagger on both the Legion Commander as well as the Rubik can catch him out pretty easily, and he can't stay trapped inside his base. They can't just let U9 be the only split pusher in their team, right? They have to make this Ember Spirit and take some risks with his pushes as well.
Yeah. Let the Ember go out, but U9 still wants to get this little bit of money. If he can finish up the E-Blade, it's going to cause issues for both Ursa as well as Legion Commander, depending how DC want to start the engagements.
Interesting, SC actually, despite having that quick buy, he went ahead and picked up an early Maelstrom, and now changes his quick buy over to the, help me out, Toby.
Where you go, Octarine?
Yeah, thank you. Jesus, I couldn't even think of that ability.
I'm still right? Going. This is a great spin.
I think this is like, I think this makes the right amount of sense. Lincoln's made sense because you had to push out and you had to do these things, but ultimately, at some point in time, DC's just going to go high ground against you. You needed some big damage upgrades out of this Ember Spirit. They just simply weren't hitting hard enough.
Even with that spell amplification, he went for the extra stats too. You know what he wants to get to if he can get that plus Searing Chains.
SC's going to have to play really well. He has to read the map movement of DC because he's still going to have to do the split pushing, but he won't be able to have that kind of fail-safe in Lincoln Sphere.
Alright, here comes DC. They look to the top lane. They don't have everybody with them. Moon is actually all the way back down the mid. So this feels like a bit of a half-hearted push in from DC. They just send the illusions in. They keep the split push going. This is more of a siege than anything else. Keep the split going, let the Naga do the work. And actually, with the Keeper of Light, always going to remember, he can drag it back in and jump in. Weeha with the stun already on the spot of the Balancing Tower making it difficult. You've also got Ursa hit by that balance. They don't take too much damage. Then again, you had that Aegis, the Immortal Song of the Siren. You're seeing NEWBIE trying to back up. Force DC if they want to commit this, go deeper inside their base. He's out of Weeha. He'll trigger the Aegis. So at least this means he does on the easy opening, but maybe not. Legion Commander jumps in, the stun is there, they're holding it back with the paralyzing cut. Rogue's doing work, last year, KP will die. The Illuminate did the work, but really the cost is high for DC. We have still on the front lines, and they back it back in to the wall of waveform. U9 bringing that E-Blade in, and the jump forward, Misery, no way out. NEWBIE, they are pushing back DC, and not just doing that, they're walking over the DC dead bodies to do so.
They picked up a gem off of DC too. That was an amazing hold by NEWBIE. These guys are kings of high ground defense, and you should absolutely be fearing that as DC. They need to make sure that they have not only every advantage possible like that Aegis, but they also need to make sure that they are at their biggest peak. And in some ways, I do agree with the Octarine finished up, this Manta and Radiance on Naga Siren. They have reached a pretty big peak, but I'm not sure if going high ground in that attempt was the right play.
It almost feels like you want to split NEWBIE, right? Like, the Nagas have seemed to have been successful in these type of situations. They've always been pushing multiple lanes. You've got the Keeper of the Light. Where's that pressure on bottom and then get NEWBIE to be 3-1-1, split up inside their base, but NEWBIE were a 5-man team. They were ready to fight that one.
NEWBIE are executing really well in these team fights. I have to say, like Kaka, there was one example of like when the Ursa was going for the Witch Doctor who was held up by the Ensnare. Kaka did not immediately crush on the Ursa. He kind of faked it out and held on to it a little bit, waiting for the Enrage to go down first from the Ursa and then use that disable. Very important, right? Because if he pops it early, the Enrage plus the Aghanim Scepter, he just immediately removes it and gobbles Faith up. And then Faith surviving because of that faked out crush situation by Kaka allows him to be able to get the Death Ward that then kills the Aegis. Like so many of these little plays by NEWBIE build up to a big win at the top lane.
Okay, I want to have a little bit of a gander over towards the Morphling with his quick buy item. He's looking at a Silver Edge right now on him.
I have no idea, Toby. I mean, at this point in time, like, it's similar to the way DC had to play in Game 1, right? They had to go for these really aggressive split pushes and these very risky plays because they knew how down and out they were in that game. They can make that read, just like that we're saying. They can make that read in themselves and be like, okay, we're pretty far behind. We have to take some serious risks to be able to win this game. And sometimes, you know, risks usually mean...
bottom lane, Amateur, SD needs a little help. KP didn't do it with the heal. Oh, the Death Ward! They can't get away! The Bloody Light runs through his face, but the shotgun is still up for U9. A click, click, boom, and Weehara is gone. They're chasing after Misery. He's on the run, but he can't run too far. Eventually, when he's rooted to the ground, the shopkeeper watches the kill.
What
from the
is
best
happening
in the house.
Digital Chaos are just falling apart at the seams. They go for that top lane push, and I'll give them, like, it wasn't the worst idea in the world. I think, you know, I wanted to see a little bit more structure, a little bit more lane control before they actually went for it, but they had the Aegis, they tried to make a shot at it, that was fine. But now, being in that bottom lane and trying to do something like that, that was, like, way risky of a maneuver, and they don't need to do that, or at least they didn't. But NEWBIE are rapidly coming back into this game, and the Morphling is going to be hitting super hard. He's got that Ethereal Blade already.
It's crazy to think that we're still 33 minutes into the game. With the game going the way it is, NEWBIE has still only taken one tier 1 tower on this entire map. So DC can get their numbers back to the front lines very, very quickly. NEWBIE do not have map control. They just seem to be having the team fights gifted to them, but they're winning these team fights that DC are engaging into.
All right, U9, show us something special here. He can potentially, with this Shadow Blade, hunt down the Naga Siren and maybe catch her out, but I don't think he has enough burst damage for that. So he's probably just going to have to focus on some of these other heroes.
Oh, come on. Have at least a little bit of... Oh, wait, is he going to find him?
No, he's not.
Misery is far enough away. He's going to just farm up the wave instead. But it's a reveal, that Shadow Blade. I still haven't seen the ping come out from DC, but they may have just called it anyway.
Yeah, I think that they definitely see the Shadow Blade by now, and they're going to have to play a little bit more grouped up because of that. Especially some of the other heroes, the supports are going to have to stay near a core at all time.
Okay, do you finish the Silver Edge? I know U9's looking at it, but you've just got the full Butterfly completed on Naga Siren. These illusions and like just Naga herself are going to be really, really troublesome.
I mean, it's a pretty good stat upgrade. You already have that item anyway. I don't see it as being too big of a deal.
Morphling's going to invisibly wave the mid lane to try and force it back out again. The Naga illusion was pushing it in. DC, this is your time. Slaughter jumping forward. That isn't a real Naga that's going through the Maul. He actually body blocks for a second the Morphling. And DC, yeah, they're pulling back. They're pulling back to their own side of the map. They know something is awry. All you've got right now is a replicate of the Naga Siren pushing on the bottom lane.
Now DC are kind of doing what I expected them to do after that loss in the top lane. They're playing a little bit more conservatively. They're using their map control to just play more of a farm-efficient game against NEWBIE and say, okay, we're controlling every single lane with our Naga Siren. We're also controlling our jungle. We're not going to give you any opportunities for a pickoff. We'll naturally build up a bit of a net worth lead on you, and we'll wait for Roshan, and so we can get that Aegis and Cheese for the next push. You know, just get that next round of items before they go for it. Abyssa Blade on the Ursa, that's certainly a big upgrade. You already talked about the Butterfly on Resolution. Yep. Moon Meander, he's trying to build into an AC, but his current pickup, the most recent one, obviously being a Shadow.
Yeah, he also needs to have that better maneuverability, potential pickup without risking his supports. That's now going to be a third row charge. He's on the ground. Moon will pick up the cheese. You see more going into the hands of Wii. And NEWBIE, they're actually outside their base at the moment, but maybe with this Aegis and Cheese, they feel confident. But it's U9 on the top. He's going to find Misery. And this is one very dead Keeper of the Light with the waveform. It wouldn't even matter if he hit Blinding Light. Everything is targeted towards the Keeper.
There's the Octarine for the Ember Spirit. Doesn't quite have that level 25 yet.
Song, does he commit it? Resolution, U9, quick TP out. Resolution will spam the illusions out, but it's already too late.
I'm thinking this level 25 SD could actually be the thing that breaks DC from being able to successfully go high ground. Because once he has this extra 2 seconds of Searing Chains, and you get this constant chain stun that is going to be happening from the Sleight of Fist, it's so hard to be able to go high ground into that. They're going to have to, like, DC, they won't be able to push high ground with, like, the confidence of, like, 5 heroes going up there, right? They're going to have to play more of this constant chip game with the Naga Siren and chip away at the tier 3s and eventually range Raxes.
But that's still a hard ask, because the longer this game goes on, that chipping is going to be pretty slow. The illusions aren't lasting long because NEWBIE actually have a really good single target focus. Even the Morphling, we saw him just jump down to the bottom lane, threw out the adaptive strike plus the shotgun. There goes one of your illusions, jumps over to mid, hits it a couple of times, it's gone straight away. That chip is going to be a very, very slow process. In the meantime, NEWBIE get bigger and bigger. As time goes on, DC, maybe they've looked at something else. Like, how do you bring NEWBIE out of their base into your hitting zone?
I don't really think you have too many opportunities to do that. Maybe you set up some sort of traps for the Morphling, knowing that he's using the Shadow Blade to try and pick off these supports. Maybe get these ward, counter-ward combinations down all over the map and see if they can actually catch U9 when he pushes forward aggressively. If they can get one pick on the Morphling, they quickly push high ground, force a buyback, and that gives them a very easy win condition. Instead of this, you know, chip away at these towers and try and go for this really tough 5-man push into NEWBIE's base. Then they get this very clear, okay, all we have to do is kill the Morphling once, and the game is potentially over.
That's when NEWBIE just have to hold on to their buybacks. Almost everybody. Most of, in fact, DC have all their buybacks up. Morphling has his too. And he's going to finally take out this tier 1 tower. So how long has it taken now? 38.5 minutes. U9's pressure the tower, and he's being pushed back. He's still not going to get it. They burn the fortification, and they're also surrounding around U9. He's got the replicate of that Naga Siren illusion just sitting in the lane. He's going to actually just TP himself away to safety.
You know what?
So they jump in, you duel, but you're literally dueling yourself. And they actually can't even duel win against the Naga.
That Butterfly doing a lot of work for NEWBIE in this case.
You actually wonder, like, is that almost a little bit of frustration coming out from Moon? We know we like to play around a little bit, but...
No, I think you need to kill these replicates. You can't just let him get away with that for free, because it offers him so much extra gold. It really starts speeding up this Morphling's farm quite a bit. It's like when you let the Morphling be able to pick up the Alchemist replicates, right? Same situation, just speeds up his gold so quickly, because Morphling usually doesn't have that quick farming capabilities, but this was a great counter pick by NEWBIE in this situation.
Something to notice the indecision there from Resolution. He bought the entire Bloodstone while being Bloodborne while being back at base, and now he actually gets to Scythe the Vice instead. So they're looking for that control from the Naga Siren with his Scythe.
Fair enough. I think that's an interesting turn of events. Naga Siren being able to lock down, say, an Ember Spirit, right, because he still doesn't have that Linken's. He's opted for a much more aggressive build. If they can actually get a lockdown on that hero, he's done for. And maybe if they can eat through these the Linken's of a Morphling, they can be able to take him down with a long duration hold of the duel. I mean, they certainly have the damage. It's just the problem is that NEWBIE are most often going to be able to kite them around and kind of peck at them constantly until DC just drop a bit too low.
Yeah. For the double Linken Sphere protection too, which Slaughter's trying to build up, they could just throw it all at the Morphling, and then you've got no hope of really killing them off, even with that sight. SC is probably the most exposed hero at the moment, but of course he goes straight back to base that defensive spirit. And really enjoying this time, NEWBIE. Just keep farming up. The experience is going the way of NEWBIE. The gold is kind of flatlined at a 10k advantage in favor of DC, but a lot of that is still inside the towers of DC, which hasn't been claimed yet.
5-man smoke and a quick rotation straight through to the bottom lane. They know NEWBIE want to be able to push out this other side of the map.
NEWBIE's actually outside their own base. They've got an observer ward on the hillside, so this will work for them, because this will actually help break the smoke of Resolution, who's coming down the bottom lane. So yep, now they see him. A straight up hex over on Slaughter. Taka, well, I think he's pretty much done for. They're leaving him for dead. A quick Yule Scepter up. He'll get a blink dagger up. No, he won't. He'll go for the crush through the tree line, but now it's just give him crush over towards the Rubik. More control for him, but look at U9. He's pushing at the bottom lane. The mid's pushing out. The top's pushing out.
That smoke did not get an important hero. The Slardar is, when it comes to trying to establish real control in this game, it's inconsequential. Yes, he's an important factor when it comes to initiation, but it's the Ember Spirit and the Ember Spirit and the Warflink that you're really searching for in this smoke. You need to be able to set up. I'm surprised they haven't attempted some sort of like Song of the Siren into like Rubik duel. You know, they have some of these.
Yeah, U9 got the place you want to get. Oh, he got him! The Morphling! Maybe he's got time. He plays himself, finds a little bit of strength more. Now leaving the part of the duel is up. He's down. No, buyback! 83 seconds on the sideline. The window is open and DC is invited.
And the best part is
NEWBIE home.
The best part is DC are thinking what we were talking about earlier. They get the pick off in the Morphling. They're going to go for the high ground, thinking there's going to be able to force the buyback. He does actually have the buyback.
He's
Looks
got it
like
now.
It just came up.
Yep, he only just got it.
Yeah.
That is one lucky duck. You've also got the Aghanim Scepter over.
Uh-oh.
The Ember's in trouble. Faith, he'll create a little bit of space. They're pushing him back. Paralyzing cast. The illusions of Naga are working against him. Illuminous Spam also now targeting them back. Lost in perfect time with the crush. Blinding light causing divisions for NEWBIE to keep the fight going. And Faith, he's burnt the death ward.
Yeah, they really missed that initiation. They wanted to be able to time that initiation with the buyback. Oh, careful, Ember Spirit.
These spirit positioning, these replica positioning, so much of it under the cover of Fog of War.
I think if they had actually hit that vacuum crush a bit better, they at least would have caught one hero, and the buyback would have been okay. But now NEWBIE are left in this situation. For the next 6 minutes or so, they're going to have to worry about the Morphling final death.
But it's back to exactly the gameplay they were at before, right? Just don't go out too far. As long as you get the buybacks, you're free to do so. At all other times, you don't go unless they try and go for some kind of surprise play.
Well, I mean, they've been playing defensive with most of their heroes, but they still have had to split push some. And the thing is, they've been successful in split pushing for the most part. I can't actually remember a time where DC really got a really good pick, except when they caught the Morphling at top lane.
And that was more like a gifted kind of thing. Like it was the, oh, hey, this thing is actually right in front of us. Let's go for it.
Yeah, so they need, like, they need another one of those. NEWBIE are not going to just sit inside their base. There's no way. They just can't. They need to try and continue to split push. They can't just let Morphling sit and take whatever farm is kind of given them. It'll also offer too many opportunities for DC. They can still find initiation inside the base of NEWBIE.
We'll see how long that's going to take to do. For now, NEWBIE, all 5 are back inside their home. Piha's waiting on the bottom lane for something to happen. There's no vision, but he's waiting for it. The Morphling has come out far enough that he could potentially go for the gank, but no, the range creep actually starts attacking him. And no, he still jumps in, gets the back off. The Abyssal Blade charge is still available, but U9 waveforms out. A quick E-Blade pops, and Taka wants to make his blade too. They jump forward, they've got the miss on him, and maybe now with KP, no Weeha, he breaks through with the BKB. This looks like NEWBIE were actually baited out to come out. They've got the duel. This is the big one. It's the Morphling. Frank Wolf is there now. He's down for 100 seconds. Frank will join him as well. Song of the Siren from Resolution allows him to set up the Ember. He's the next big one. He's the control factor. Abyssal Blade charges up. They just kind of miss and then the Spirit away. Moon actually gets shredded by the Ember Spirit. So they don't have that control anymore.
But can they hold? It's 4 versus 3. The Ember Spirit can do so much with its Octarine. He's so close to level 25 too. He can actually buy out as well if he really wants that MKB, that big increase in damage. I think DC, they should be at least be able to get 1 lane of racks off of this.
They're looking for an opening. They're looking for a hero. if this is one lane of Raxus, NEWBIE actually let it go. They put a defensive spirit up for SC, but he could dive for it, get back that dagger, jump forward. It goes on top of Fate, the paralyzing cast, catching Ursa in position. SC next up for the moment. He's got his Sleight of Fist off cooldown when he can finally stop being a piglet, running back out of the bottom lane. DC are retreating for the moment. But it's the chip game. They still want the better opening. The Sleight of Fist is causing issues. Resolution has that Song of the Siren available. Weeha looks at the opening. Overwatch Face once again. A quick Yule Scepter. That's one from Kaka. Keeping Weeha out of play with the BKB. He's moving forward, looking for the kills. The paralyzing cast bouncing up that terrific one's on. The Darkseer back wall. It doesn't work. Darkseer's got some space to get out of here. But the Song of the Siren, we hold it. 15 seconds till Morphling is up. And DC are using it to retreat. They don't want to go any further, but no, Sleight of Fist, Searing Chains, Kaka also wastes his stun. But NEWBIE hold, they don't lose the racks.
Unbelievable. I thought for sure with that Morphling buyback that they were going to be able to get it, but somehow NEWBIE have managed to hold at least their Raxes. The tier 3s are gone from mid and bottom. Their whole entire base is completely exposed, but they do have a second life in this game.
You said the high ground kings.
They absolutely are, man. They absolutely are.
How? Like, you get an advantage like this. Like, maybe they need that extra lockdown. That's the downside about the Naga Siren Song, right? You couldn't just get that instant control if they picked up SC as well. Digital Chaos could be looking at not only one, maybe two lanes in a break, so maybe you've just been looking at leveling this series one apiece, but the game continues to move on. Digital Chaos continue to hold map control. The situation still hasn't changed. You've only got one tier 1 tower claimed by NEWBIE in a 47-minute game. This seems to be baffling to anybody who would just look at the basic draft.
Man, they've got this Witch Doctor Aghanims that we saw in that last bottom fight. There's so many ways for DC to get punished because they're going to have this constant Searing Chains that's holding these heroes in place. The Aghanims, if the Witch Doctor is able to sit far enough back with his Glimmer Cape, he's able to bounce this Death Ward damage off and back into the heroes farther in the back for DC. There is definitely easy ways for them to be able to take these range Raxes for sure. At bottom lane and mid, they should just be able to chip away at this, get the range Raxes, and then I think they fall back for the Roshan number 4, and that'll be their way to maybe be able to break the melee Raxes. But that is just more time for NEWBIE to work with, right? It's time for them to be able to get the MKB on SC combined with the level 25 and that big upgrade talent. It's also time for the Morphling to get his Scotty upgrade, which is a serious stat upgrade.
The Hex on the Ember is just Resolution running, and he's got no friends around him. The paralytic cast will keep Naga away. Oh wait, hang on, that's still the real Naga. Resolution, the paralytic cast will bounce up again, so he doesn't instantly get away. Now the TP will start. Slaughter, you can see Kaka, he just wanted to blink and get the crush, but he is denied. He knows that he's sleeping on the job.
He knows it's impossible, but he tries anyway, you know? He's just like, oh, if I can only get close enough to even just Yules.
I'll use the willpower of optimism. That's all I need to win this game, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's thinking. This Knight of License proved to be such a power pickup by Resolution. It's super interesting, but it's managed to catch the Ember Spirit multiple times, and it's killing this attempted Morphling replicant. Every single time he grabs the Naga Siren illusions, it's been killed by Resolution pretty quick.
That bloody Naga illusion, it already got down and took out the range Drax on bottom. So the first range Drax has fallen. They try to kill it off, but NEWBIE realized that with this illusion siege, they still have to stay together. They have to be ready for the DC attack. They also really want to go shopping, but they can't reach their secret shop. Slaughter has enough for the Lincoln, but he just can't get out there. Have that protection for the Ember, it just doesn't exist yet. And SC's putting so much mana in order to control this push of the wave, he's got nothing left. He has to go back and regenerate.
I don't think. DC, this is so reminiscent of their match versus Wings. Game 2, right? They had the Naga Siren, they had such a huge lead, and it got really, really sloppy by them. They almost threw it out, but they did manage to close out the game, and it is beginning to look like that, right? Because NEWBIE, they're going to have all their range Raxes chipped away, the melee Raxes are going to be threatened, 3 Roshans constantly for DC, especially with an Ursa who's able to do it so quickly. Very unlikely that NEWBIE's able to smoke out and contest them. So Aegis and cheeses to be able to work off of, even if it means using an Aegis for every single one of the melee Raxes, DC can do that. They can go ahead and hold this tight you know, constant split push of the Naga Siren and keep NEWBIE inside their base.
SC, his smoke's going to break. It's a Weeha in Vizrune. Now, fighting from inside the base is easier because the amount of sentry ward coverage that's down now for NEWBIE. At least they managed to get out, buy up all their items because of DC backing out. But Weeha, he just wants the opportunity, but he's underneath the sentry ward. The creep wave starts to attack him and he realizes he's visible.
A couple more rain tracks is about to fall. Mid's gonna go down here in a couple of seconds. Fortunately, the steering chain buys it a little bit more time, but it's just inevitable, right?
It's the slow death.
It's like the tide, man. These Naga Siren illusions, they're always gonna be comeback.
NEWBIE has to come out at some point. Like, use the Blink Dagger, use KD to get that initiation, but now it's the bottom lane that's being attacked. The illusion pushed out the top, and it's Weeha jumping in right on top of that melee Rax. He doesn't actually get hit by the Maledict. And they try and keep the distance, but the top rack, the illusions are still up. They bring down the range, but Weeha are attacking the bottom. Here we go again. You also throw from Kaka. He wants the crunch. He can still the top lane. Everspear's past. They may have another one with Everspear down. He'll buy back to jump into this fight. Moon9, very low on mana. Wave falls forward. He gets actually almost out of range, yet he does. Off the Song of the Siren face on a B-stick of life. Also retreating out. The illusions are still attacking all the lanes of racks. Weeha will wait the tree line, wait forward. Can they kill him off? That's a big one. The Aegis will pop. The help is there. Misery's Illuminous can hit pretty hard on the KP. And Weeha goes forward, looking for the fast target. He's lost, but they almost have it. The sun out from the mana league. KP's gonna go down. He has buyback available. We'll use it straight away, but the Racks, they are still dying. Not to mention face. He's trying to hold the top lane. SC doing his work to help out. Resolutions retreating with the illusions. They are just too strong. You can't repel G's power of this magnitude. There's nowhere to run. They come back in. Maybe now with the back wall. They can actually hold this top rack. It's the last thing. The melee rack. Everything is down. He's in trouble. The Illumina hit. He's down. 2 minutes. It looks like NEWBIE. The back will be broken. Resolution. Set up the fight. Pull back out under the cover of Song of the Siren. Kaka, he looks like he wants to go. Moon9's looking for a target. It's Weeha, but Weeha, he's at your BKB of cooldown in 1 second time. He wants to fight. He wants to jump in here and battle in for that last little bit of megas with the Ensnare on face. Witch Doctor is held in position. They jump forward. The hit is there. Weeha picking up the back line. Ruby will buy back into the game. But Moon9, he's out. It's DG. They got nothing more in the tank. We are at least going to have a game 4 as DC levels the series 1-1.
What a crazy series it's been. Game 1 and Game 2, I would say, both had dominant storylines by the winning team, right? Game 1 looked very clearly like a NEWBIE victory. Same kind of goes with Game 2.